Boom. Plausible deniability, everyone. Johnny Payne.
Yay!
Who are you?
I am Brooke Bullock.
I think I was saying Johnny Payne while you were screaming.
I think that's exactly what happened. And then, like always,
Boom.
missed the perception check. And I'm just sitting here, going, what? So.
Yeah.
And in honor of Michael Cross, I didn't have my sound turned down in the other window, so you heard the echo, but we're good now. So.
Same. I did the same just then.
Michael is off. Michael is off celebrating something very special, and I'll just leave it at that because, I don't want to give anybody's digits out into the world, and then they find out, the underwater basket weaving codes and stuff. But it does involve cake.
You just don't want the government after you.
That's true. Shout out to the NSA.
Hi, Larry. That's my assigned agent. What's happening?
Oh man, there's that little shop, the little print shop, t-shirt making shop, and they're not so little anymore. That's in Texas. They did our bandanas for us, right?
Yeah.
And Print Inkling. And they have a design that they posted about 2 weeks ago that was just a doodle. But they have a little potion mascot, like a potion with legs and arms, and had a little thought bubble there. And the thought bubble said, has bro effed up again?
Okay.
and of course, it was very much the, put those two words together. It's not has bro.
Yeah.
Effed up again. It's Hasbro effed up again. And I feel like it just keeps happening over and over and over again. Like, what are we going to talk about? Let's talk about Hasbro not having their stuff together,
So, in case you haven't, we're just going to set the mood here. This episode is a couple of old dudes griping about Dungeons and Dragons. So,
when do they show up? The old guys.
There you go. I'll let you know.
Okay.
Yes. They're leaving the home right now. So
right now, yeah. You bet. Because there's no school like the old school. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but with strangers, if you gave me a choice to play in 1E with strangers or 5E with strangers, I would play 5E because it's more fun. Right? In that kind of way.
Yeah.
But if it's my old school group of folks and we know each other and we can, do all the table banter and, make the jokes that you can't make in public or whatever it is, and that doesn't mean that they're necessarily bad. It's maybe they're, like when girls get together, they make jokes that they don't make when they're around guys and vice versa,
Yeah.
That group of folks I'll play 1E with, but if it's just strangers, 5E because it moves faster. It's it's got more flashbang in it and stuff like that. So it's not that we're like back in my day you had to have 46. Although that's a valid thing. I like it a lot. Rolling 46 and figuring out the ability points that way. But it just seems like whoever is in charge of Hasbro PR is just, really just does not have the wisdom score to be in that job. So much so that we have an executive that has left, got fired. I don't know.
We'll talk about him too. He needless to say, he couldn't leave soon enough.
Which is a throwback to a quote from about a year ago, right?
Yeah. Hal says, "Greetings from north of the border." I'm trying to figure out if he's in Kansas or
notice that last little tag there where he says, I think you need to say it like this. I think you need to say, "Greetings from north of the border, eh?"
Yeah.
Oh, like he's way
It
up
was an
north.
exclamation point. That's why I didn't think Canada. It wasn't a question mark. If it was a question mark, it would have either been Canada or Northern California. Right on.
Yes, word on the street is that he has somehow got a valid passport. Supposedly he's doing tech work, but I really think he's just like, the middle-aged Jason Bourne, and he's always off somewhere. Like Scott Wise, that guy. What was about 6 months ago? He's over in Europe.
Geez, I feel like that
doing
guy's
work?
always somewhere. Yeah.
I know.
Scott's a friend of the show, one of our patrons. We hang out with him at cons and stuff. Yeah, he's a good guy. But yeah, it's like, I can't. I'm in the UK right now. It's like, oh, sorry.
What is it you do for a living? It's just stuff. It's just business.
Yeah.
Business.
What do you want to talk about first? You want to talk about orc tacos and wearing sandals and forges, or do you want to talk about Kyle Brink saving the world?
Yeah, well, let's talk about Mr. Brink first. And then we'll get in, and then we'll finish off with the artwork and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
well, let's talk about what Kyle Brink is famous for. He went on an apology tour back with the whole OGL debacle.
Right.
And Brooks Echo. I tried to adjust it.
Let me see. I wonder.
Echo.
I don't know. Maybe I have my volume on my own computer up too loud.
Coming in pretty strong.
Green in the background is muted, I do believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's muted and turned down. I'm just not sure.
Okay.
But thanks for the heads up.
Yeah. Did I mute you?
As far as I know, I'm not
muted. So.
Okay. I was trying to mute you.
Brooke is from a concert hall. I shouldn't be my microphone.
Yeah, it's the exact same settings last time.
Yeah.
It's just you.
It's just Brooke being weird. I don't know. Did that make it any better when I turned the volume down a little bit? Folks in the chat?
Me, so yeah.
So they'll let us know.
It changed for a second. It changed for the better for a second. I don't know when it changed. It's a delay. Can you hear us? Say something, Brooke.
I'm talking about
Can y'all hear Brooke?
Shenanigans Unplugged, which, by the way, you should check them out. When Johnny muted me, it went away. Maybe it reset itself? I don't know.
Yeah.
Hot diggity dog. Ooh, wait. If Johnny pushed a button and fixed it, I get to say my second favorite line. It was Johnny's fault.
That's gold. That's gold.
Okay.
That's gold as in that's good? Okay.
I think so. Or he found gold in Canada.
But I sound far away. No echo, but a tad quiet.
Okay.
Okay, scream louder.
I will scream louder into the microphone.
Okay. All right. Kyle Brink, yeah, famous for going on his apology tour for Wizards of the Coast when the OGL debacle happened. A unique thing with that is the first time he popped up, his name popped up, I think it was on one of the many letters that Wizards of the Coast released of like where they were trying, backpedaling or this was a draft and all that stuff. So people couldn't figure out who, they're like, never heard of Kyle Brink. And you would think, executive producer of Dungeons and Dragons is a name that you would know. So people looked him up, and all they found was that he has an account on D&D Beyond, but the account was like 5 weeks old. So it's almost like they just put someone in place and gave him a title and said, "There, you got a nice smile and you're free today. Go talk to people."
Use your charisma to fix this foobar, right?
So he goes on an apology tour. He's showing up on a lot of content creators' YouTube videos and such. And I don't know if you have a screenshot of the quote, but there's a quote that's made him famous when he was on Two Black Halflings episode of their show. and it's where he talked about it's all people play Dungeons and Dragons have always been white dudes in basements, et cetera, et cetera. And he's ends it with people like me can't get out of the hobby fast enough. And there's been two ways it's interpreted. One is that he's saying, people like him, white dudes, need to get out of the hobby
Right.
fast enough, which is what he said. The other take on it is that he said he was talking about the higher ups at the top of the food chain within the corporation. You go back and listen to it over and over and over again, and he never says the assumption has been that the people at the top of the food chain in the corporation have been white dudes in the basement. No, he said it just has been white dudes in the basement. Yeah, so it is what it is on your interpretation. I understand the optics on it. If someone bashes one side, you have to agree, or you look like you're favoring the other side, and you just got to go with it. So everybody just keeps smiling and nodding. We know what was said, and and that's what he's famous for. He was famous for never existing before, then suddenly appeared. Then he became famous for the apology tour. Then he became famous for saying that. The crazy thing is, Brooke, is before he left a few days ago, he started trending on Twitter again.
Oh, really?
An image of him and that quote just started popping up. So I don't know. I haven't checked dates. I don't know if this is like the 1 year, the 18-month or something anniversary of when he said that. But people were just tweeting, never forget, and then posting that. And some of the D&D groups I'm in, they were posting it a week ago. So it's really weird that 10 days leading up to him leaving, people were bringing that. It was coming back up to the surface. And then sure enough, it's been announced that he left. And it's been pretty clear, I think, that he left. Not that they got rid of him or anything like that, just that he left. So there's that. Hobby gaming is saved. A lot of world problems are solved now. So thank you, Kyle Brink. It took you a while, but thanks for practicing what you preach. The question is, did that position ever exist before? Who are they going to fill it with? Did a head get cut off to be replaced by something worse? Yeah. Golden parachute for sure. Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think, Brooke? You think we're going to see someone pop up and really be in the limelight in that position?
I just don't know. Like, conspiracy theory wise, it seems really odd that he would go about the time it comes. It almost seems like someone needed to funnel that anniversary quote back into the food chain again a little bit. Also during the apology tour, he was the guy who said, my team wasn't in the room whenever that decision was made. We were off doing content, and we let the suits take care of, management issues and policy and stuff, and we should have had people in the room. And then when that very tone deaf apology or statement came out about, hey, you're going to hear that some people won and some people lost. Well, we both won. He came out and said, I read that the first time you guys read that. Like, I don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
And so I haven't quite figured out if he ruffled feathers on both sides so much that he was just like, the stress is not worth it, or what. But it seems, when you mentioned that stuff started to get reposted a few days before he was out, then it makes my brain go,
I agree with Hal there. The next executive in that position will be like, I never played D&D, but if it's anything like Monopoly, I love it. So it is. I almost wonder if it's like you said, his name started popping up, and then he left. So was it? They said, hey, they didn't forget this,
right.
and they went ahead and got rid of Lorraine Williams. Oops. I mean Cynthia Williams.
That's also just like a weird coinky
There's
thing
some
too,
old
right?
TSR history for you with Lorraine Williams, but she left, and she had done a lot of damage, at least in the public eye, with the whole we're going to monetize this game, and you're basically describing D&D as Call of Duty, where you don't go to the store, you buy the book and you bring it home and you pay that $50, and then now you've done, you don't have to pay anything anymore. She wanted you to pay that $50 and bring it home, and then continuously have to keep paying to play the game at home with your friends.
Yeah.
That didn't go over well. So it didn't go over well, but oddly it went down like the scene in Star Wars when Palpatine announced the first Grand Republic, and it's that's how it was what she says, how liberty dies, with thunderous applause. Everyone's like, oh, thing that's happening is great. I love this. It's everyone's applauding everything.
Yeah.
And it was kind of weird. But yeah, so she left. Now he left. Are they doing damage control?
I haven't seen any damage control being done yet.
I don't know.
And so like
I kind of see it with like her leaving. She went to Funko, and Funko's, from what I understand, kind of dying. They're throwing inventory into pits and dumpsters and stuff because they've got so much of it. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we haven't heard anything about her being replaced either at Wizard. So who knows? Connor's here. Hey, Connor.
woo-hoo.
I don't know why I said it like that. Hey, Connor. D&D loot boxes, yeah, 50 cents for a reroll. I mean, it's like you're playing an epic for charity, you know. No doubt. But yeah, that's just an interesting take on the whole Kyle Brink poofing thing. I don't think after that there was anything terrible in the news. I did learn recently that Mike Merles, if you remember that name from Wizards of the Coast, at the beginning of 5e's start.
Right.
Yeah, he has he's gotten a job at Chaosium. So maybe working on some Call of Cthulhu stuff. So
that's very cool.
Yeah. I know him leaving was controversial, but I think it was more like someone did something bad and he just was like, I'm out of it. I'm just out of it. I want to be Canada in this. And so it was like, no, you have to. Yeah. So he, but yeah, he was there when 5e was born and in its glory days and such. And like I said, no, that's not a glory day now, but it's a different game today, and that's okay.
And it is a different game.
Yeah.
And that is perfectly okay.
Still have tons of fun with it. It's like people are like, hey, go play the older editions. They're so much better. And they do, and they go play AD&D 2nd Edition, but they don't like THAC0, so they're going to flip the armor class and play it the 5e way. And it's like, oh, you're really showing us, tough guy,
And at the same time, that's absolutely brilliant. Like, take your game and make it the way that you want to make it.
Yeah, there's a lot of OSR games out there and 2E clones that are basically 2nd edition, but they flip the armor class and they get rid of THAC0.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's pretty neat. Change is scary, Connor. I know.
It is. It's super scary.
Yeah.
So, like werewolves, they change. Anyway, sorry. ADHD moment, it kicked in.
I'm going to feed your ADHD moment.
Yes.
Favorite on-screen werewolf change?
Oh.
Go.
I think you just have to go classic with Werewolf in London, American Werewolf in London. Like that scene in the hotel room where things just like stretch and good.
Yeah.
And he's in so much pain when it happens. Like that's classic.
Mm-hmm. There was a Netflix show. I can't remember the name of it. It had vampires and werewolves in it, and Famke Janssen was in it. But if this is the show I'm thinking, they changed by sort of growing, but then also coming out. Like the wolf would come out of the human skin
Oh,
and like leave a
yes.
mess behind.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And it was because I saw it when I was too young, but the howling has always freaked me out. Until about 5 years ago, I went back and I went like, I want a really good scare. I think I'm going to watch The Howling.
Yeah.
And then I was like, who's the guys in the clay? Is this the same wolf they used on Sesame Street that was like, rah, 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 you know what I mean? Like, what was that?
For like the past year, I've been wanting to rewatch Silver Bullet.
Oh.
With Gary Busey and Corey Feldman.
Yeah.
I never could. That's why I just got both their posters when I was a kid. I couldn't remember which one was which. Yeah.
In the chat, talk about bitten shenanigans. That doesn't ring a bell off the top of my head. So
it's a series. Anyway. It's sort of like, in my opinion, Bitten is it's young adult, kind of in the vein of like maybe young adult. And then there's the ones where they just run and jump and boom, they're werewolf.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I want to see like the transition happen. And yeah.
And there's something old school with, Lon Chaney, and you like pass behind a tree and then you're next stage. And you pass behind a tree and then you're the next stage.
Or you turn around and then when you turn back around.
Werewolf Mafia. Now that's a different game, and that's fun too.
Yeah. Werewolf Mafia.
The werewolf card game is a like all the 20 people in.
Oh, Are You a Werewolf? Yeah, Are You a Werewolf is amazing. We should. I got several copies, different versions of that. We should bring it to the next con.
That would be awesome. That would be really cool. On the side note, just have like in the gaming room at SoonerCon, just have like games with Red Dirt or whatever. That would be pretty cool. So. That'd be pretty cool too.
What else you got with D&D?
Speaking of werewolves, have we seen if the 2024 edition has pansified the werewolves? Are they just like big puppies and we love them?
So that God, Brooke.
Here, grognard. Here, go ahead. Take a big bite.
I instantly thought to myself, original kobold.
Oh.
They were dog-like. Yeah.
They were very much so. I gotta say, a lot of that original artwork, because professional like people you could pay hadn't really come into the venue yet, and a lot of that original artwork, it's not the greatest. Like that Beholder,
oh my God,
that original Beholder. It's just like it doesn't instill fear in me. And now the stats of it, holy moly! But the original artwork, not so much. And again, the kobold, like, until you run into a pack of them, and then they, all eviscerate you with traps and sticks and things that fall on you. Isn't it kind of cute? Sort of. But then also it's ugly, but it's also kind of cute, So, yeah, the art ebbs and flows for sure. So,
Hal said that he would play Are You a Werewolf with us, so there's one. There's one.
Teen Wolf is also fun, right?
Yeah, Teen Wolf's a great movie.
Keg of beer.
Give me a keg of beer. The whole van surfing thing.
Also true.
It's fantastic.
So.
There's.
I was one last thing I was going to say. As we get into this, I think it's this edition of Wayfinder Legends, the new podcast.
Mm-hmm.
There may be a cute puppy in it, and so as much as I'm hating on, like your monster should be mean, and I don't know that Fluffy is going to stick around, or if even that name's going to stick, but yeah, it's in all the games. It just happens.
Yeah,
you can't.
There's always a stray. I mean, even Diablo 4 just gave us pets. They were in every version of Diablo, and except for 4. Now It's you can log in Diablo 4 and do a little quest and get a puppy that follows you around. It's pretty neat. Even before they did that, if you walked up to a dog that was in a city and you did the wave emoji or the hello emoji, it would follow you around until you left the city. So even in like the hell-torn wasteland of Diablo, there were puppy companions to take your mind off things and
Puppy companions.
Yeah.
That still took. You know, taking a train wreck left turn back into the topic. I think one of the things with Brink, one of the things that makes that so hard is at the same time that he says things, about the old school folks don't belong here, quote unquote. I took that out of context a little bit, but then you have, some folks that are posting things like, with Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson and Jim Ward now all being gone, that there's no one to be like, wait, I was there when the old magic was crafted, and it wasn't exactly that way. And it's just people from a new generation that look back and say, man, what jerks,
Yeah.
It's like when you go back and you look at old advertisements that were in like magazines, of like the cooking utensils or things, and it's got the wife, going like, I better have dinner ready when he gets home. That was just the climate at the time. Was it wrong?
Yeah.
It's not very helpful. It's not very conducive to a growing economy or good relationships. But at the time, quote unquote, no one saw anything wrong with it, and we learn and we grow and we get better. But to immediately label Gygax and Dave Arneson and Jim Ward as like these terrible people, I don't know that we can paint with so big of a brush, right?
Yeah.
So
the thing I find interesting about all of it is, so they have this book coming out with the history of D&D, and they spend they use a lot of words in the beginning of it to let you know, hey, Gary was a bad guy and we don't like him and we're not him, and he did bad things and he was mean about women and all this before they go into it. And it always harkens back to so I do theater. I haven't in recent years, but I've got like 30 plus years theater experience in the Metro, served on a board of directors for it. Not resumeing myself, been stars of several shows. I was doing cabaret, and it was a whole lot of women, and then many gentlemen in the LGBTQ community, and then an old married dude and me. That was the cast of this show. And this was at the time that the CEO of Chick-fil-A said, yeah, I give money to this organization that electrocutes the gays. And everyone stopped eating Chick-fil-A. I don't want it. I hate you if you eat it. If you eat Chick-fil-A and you're straight, you're not an ally. Oh my God, it's terrible. I hate this. I hate this. I'm not eating Chick-fil-A. Similar group of people, not LGBTQ, but just the social spectrum of the sphere of that group, are the same people that are like, oh, the people who were in charge of Dungeons and Dragons, the people who birthed it were misogynistic and racist, and the people who are in charge of it now are racist and ableist, and I can't wait for the next book to come out so I can run out and buy it and go play it every Thursday night. It's like, are you cherry picking the thing you don't want? Were you never really a fan of Chick-fil-A? All right, Chick-fil-A is something you can eat by yourself and no one can see you do it. You have to do D&D with a group so people know if you're playing D&D or not. So you can't make that statement. But it's just it's just interesting because on Twitter it's like, oh, look at this Hadozi thing. They're racist. They're racist. They're racists. And then it's like they announce a book a week later and it's like, oh, can I pre-order it? Why are you supporting the company of racists? If that's terrible, it's because they course correct. Every time they course correct, though, they course correct with the Hadozi thing, and then they fired all the female contractors, and they course correct with that by firing all the minority artists, and then they were doing something for 2 years. Wizards of the Coast was doing something wrong every 3 months, and it's not that I'm saying people should hate them because they were doing it, but it's just interesting that it's like you could kick a puppy on live TV and I'm okay with it. But you can't do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's like Hasbro has been being steered by a two-headed Etten, which might be redundant to say, but anyway, by an Etten that is like, we go this way, no, we go this way, and
Yeah.
it's just like a race car that's just crashing against the walls with every reaction they have. And my 2 cents on Jason Tondro's uh, not interview, but intro
Yeah.
is like, why spend that much time talking about how all the problems with a game that you're trying to get people interested in, like even if it's the history of the game.
It's like if we haven't given you enough reason to hate us right now, read the preface.
List all the things.
Read the preface of why you should hate us because of our origins. Go ahead.
By that time, I'm like, I guess this isn't really a game I want to play, and I'm putting the book down. Give 3 sentences that say, in the beginning things were different, and we all learn and we all grow, and when this game was just played by white guys, all the heroes were white. But now, there's fantastic artwork of a diversity of social classes and a diversity of character classes, from all over. It even bleeds into, movies, the Tolkien world, which you can find some evidence that, hobbits might have had swarthier skin, or elves that, we've got an elf character in Rings of Power that, is obviously not a dark elf, but has a different, is not a classic Tolkien blonde, pale elf. And so I think that's great. I think it's great to be able to see yourself in the artwork. That part's fantastic. But man, when Jason Tondro just spends, more than half a page just thrashing on the creators, I just don't understand it. It doesn't make me want to pick up the book.
I know it's joking here, but someone in chat said, "Who reads the preface?" They did a video reveal of this book, and a large chunk of that video reveal was talking about the subject matter at hand. And it's like I think they were really scared that it was like, you're making a book on the history of D&D, so you support that? And no, you're crazy. That's the same thing as saying you support it because you play it. No one's saying that.
Right.
So yeah. It is. And it's not to say, oh, it was the 50s, so it's okay that you were supposed to stay home and be barefoot and pregnant and not have rights and stuff. No, it's not. But that's how it was. People weren't doing it because they were evil. It's just you were born into it and you didn't know. And then people who did know were like, wait, this could be better. Let's change it. And sometimes it was easy and sometimes it was a fight, and changes have come. And the world is a perfect place right now, and everything's fine and everyone's happy and there's not a thing wrong.
Well,
we're all
not
doomed.
to be on a soapbox and have the American flag start waving behind me, but that's it. Most of those things come out of ignorance, and it probably comes because a person was taught that in their past, and then they get exposed to the world. And man, maybe I'll make fun of my own background. Maybe you're able to get out of the little tiny town that you grew up in, and then you realize, hey, wow, oh my gosh, and you see these things, and you learn, and you grow, and you change, and that melting pot of America, wave the flag behind me, and that melting pot of America is what really makes us strong, right? So bringing all those people to the table of different backgrounds, and they play different characters, it's awesome.
Yeah. And I know everything is anecdotal, but if you go watch the Secrets of Blackmore documentary, there are people of color at that table in that garage playing that game. And there were women involved in mass producing the game and getting it out to conventions.
You betcha.
And even I saw a meme the other day that was funny but not. That was if Gary Gygax was a woman hating misogynist, why did he hire Lorraine Williams and then get stabbed in the back?
And Darlene was the first big time cartographer, you know.
Yeah, oh
so I mean,
yeah,
like
yeah.
there are folks, various folks,
Mhm.
folks of variety. That sounds weird, but
Mhm.
you know, like in the in the old magic days, you know, in
Yeah.
the days of foundational growth.
And a lot of it too is I'm going to blame society, which you can blame society for every single thing we've talked about so far. But so you're a man, right?
It's been pointed out to me a couple of times.
So that
yes.
means you know how to fight off a bear and change a tire on the side of the road with your bare hands. You know how to build a hut using nothing but a pocket knife and a piece of twine if you're lost in the forest. You know, all these things that you should know as a man, and there's pressure on you, and you're a man, so you have to act this way and think this way and be this way. And some of that is put onto us by other men, and some of that is put on us also by women. It's like, I don't want a soft man. I want a hard man. I want this kind of man or whatever. So there's also, now let's take away that I'm talking about men have these expectations, and there are certain people in certain groups that have these expectations. And I remember in the 90s playing Dungeons and Dragons, and some other kids at school come up and it's like, hey, what are y'all talking about? It's like, oh, our weekend plans. It's like, what are you doing? We're going to play D&D. Do you want to come? And we look at the dude of color that's on the sports team, and he's like, man, how the hell are you going to get laid playing this game? Because his mindset was, you spend all weekend partying, flexing, and having sex, not sitting around with a bunch of dudes playing pretend. And so it wasn't that white people were saying, stay away. It's some of it was society saying, you're not supposed to be doing that, so don't go do it.
Yeah.
Here's the things you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be driving fast and whistling at women. So go do that this weekend, you know. And I think today it's that's back down a whole lot, and mostly because our generation who was witnessing it happening the most like that was like, let's put a stop to that, and started raising our kids differently, you know, and such. And so now it's like, hey, you want to play D&D? Yeah, I'm free. I'm sitting at home doing nothing this weekend, or this would be a nice break from going clubbing, or you know, whatever. It's I really think that's a large part of it too. Is, you know, the expectations and the pressures put onto you by society during certain decades over the 50 years of, you know,
And as Hal said in the chat, ultimately it's about finding a group of friends or like-minded people who want to tell the story that you want to tell as well, and working together. And once you have the framework, you know, who cares what Gary Gygax or Jason Tondro, you know, want as far as like the creators, you know.
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna play it my way.
Good stuff.
Yep.
You bet. So your drow are always going to be evil.
My drow are always going to be evil. Yeah, I feel like that we're at a rate where there's going to be nothing. There's not going to be any creatures left to fight in D&D in the next 10 years. But I know I said on the show before.
The world is gray enough. I want my black and white, right?
Right.
I want to know that, you know, those guys are probably bad news. I'm going to make sure I'm not going to fire first, but I'm going to be ready to fire a bunch.
The villain is going to be the guy that ripped the tags off his mattresses. You know, that's the bad guy, or the jaywalker. My drow are always going to be evil. And my full blown orcs are always going to, you know, be full blown orcs.
They're going to be rugged. They're going to be, I would say, violent compared to other species.
Because I'll tell you what, if my drow weren't evil, then I would replace them with something else. That was don't go there. Don't go to the Underdark. Don't go to that cave, because if you go too deep, you'll end up where the drow are, and the drow will kill you. Well, the drow are evil. They're nice now. Okay, cool. So don't go into that tunnel, because if you go too deep, you'll go where the flim-flams are, and they'll kill. It's just going to be replaced with there's a mystery and a scariness and a threat and a danger, and so you don't go there. You know, it's I've been thinking. Go ahead.
I know. I was just gonna say, and maybe we don't have to label them like evil, right? But they're just like their mindset and their ways of life are different. Like, don't go into the jungle because the tigers are there and they will eat you.
Yeah,
because they don't have any moral complications about people. They're like, oh look, another big monkey.
Yeah,
Let's eat it.
I mean, there's a good point in chat here. Remember when gnomes were monsters? Yeah, and so illithids, right? It'll be replaced. However, I'm gonna say this: illithids. I think Baldur's Gate 3 is going to make illithids and mind flayers a playable race soon. That are fun and cozy and cuddly, and they'll have spells that will calm you. I feel like it's going to become a thing. Their lore is going to get changed, and they're not going to be basically the Borg. I mean, they're basically the Borg of D&D, you know. And it's going to get changed where they're not. They're born that way. And
Iliad that's named 7 of 9. Is that what you're telling me?
And they just want love. Yeah. But yeah, it's fine. And it's nothing wrong with it. And I understand the whole. The crazy thing is there was the loud group that said, "Oh my God, the drow and the orc are problematic and it's racist and change them and screamed." And there was a group over here that sat in silence, and then it got changed. And then this group said, "Oh man, you changed it. That sucks." And this group said, "Oh, but it's okay. That's the glory of D&D. You can play it however you want to." Well, then why didn't you just play it the way you wanted to? Why? They don't have to change it for you to like it. You can play it how you want. They don't have to change it if you like it. You can play it how you want. People want attention. That's what it is. I want to get on the internet and get loud enough that a corporation makes a change so I can feel good about myself. I don't know.
And, I started off, bashing Hasbro. But at the same time, that old adage of, all PR, all press is good press. So I don't know, maybe it fires people up.
Hal says the Gungans will always suck. Hal, they won't. They won't. Have you watched The Acolyte? Watch The Acolyte. It will make you love Jar Jar Binks.
What? I'm not to that episode yet.
There are no Gungans in The Acolyte. But The Acolyte is so terrible, you'd be okay with watching episode 1 10 times in a row. And that's our Star Wars moment. Brooke, what do you think about the art for 5e?
It's going to be a touchy subject a little bit tonight because I'm okay. Like, my orcs are going to be violent and not necessarily evil, right? But they just are. And I've taken characters in the past, all the way back in the first edition, that were half orc, and they were that twist. They were different, right? Like, one of my first 3rd edition characters was a half orc barbarian sorcerer, like 1 level of barbarian, and then as soon as we leveled up, boom, 2nd level sorcerer, and then sorcerer the rest of the way, because that awakened in him. And I like that. I've always liked that twist. I've always liked that contrast of, man, traditionally, what is an orc never going to be? Oh, a caster, right? So, boom, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And are orcs always like punching their kids and like smacking? Because they're. I mean, probably not. They're going to have family moments, and that's going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
But in the outcry, and again, I'm sure it's my own ignorance in my upbringing, but or maybe protectiveness. Maybe I was never exposed to it. But in my own upbringing, I never saw orcs as coded as anything else other than violent humans. Like, I really had to learn, like, this idea that they were being coded as a minority. I was like, really? Where's that? I mean, I had to, like, be taught to look for it. And I was like, oh, okay, I see it now. The new artwork that came out for orcs, I can see this orc hunting party, and they're out and their kids are smiling and they're looking at affection with their kids. But I'll just say I'll just say what the internet is saying.
Go on,
the
senor.
Internet is the internet is calling them Mexican orcs.
Yeah.
Or
Latin orcs.
Latin orcs.
It looks better if
instead
you
of
type it out. Yeah. So
Yeah,
Latinx, it's
yeah.
Latin orcs with an X.
And this does not fix the problem for me. Like, I
Yeah.
do not have a problem with, with this community of orcs that are, exploring or having family moments. That's perfectly okay. But it is so blatantly like South American or Central American that I'm just like, what are you thinking? So
Yeah.
how does that, Jason Tondro, how does that get past the sensitivity folks, right? Like, oh my gosh.
I never got. You were just talking about how the orcs, the minority. You looked at it, you thought maybe, but now it's blatantly obvious. I never looked at it and thought maybe. My whole thought with the people saying it's racist to say they're all evil is because you're pointing at an entire race and saying evil. And orcs could have been scrawny little pasty dudes. You're pointing at an entire race and saying, ew, evil. Run from them
Yeah.
or attack on sight, That's where I thought the racism was stemming from. I never thought it was the fact that, the orcs were hanging out down at the basketball cages and with their boombox tagging stuff.
Right, like that doesn't happen. Like, you don't
right?
see that.
Yeah, that was never the thing. And so that's the way I came to terms with. That's where I could see it's problematic and it's racist. But I feel like and then there are other people who are like, well, they're large and they're muscular and traditionally speaking, you know what I mean,
No, they're Scandinavian.
But
like,
now
get it to the chopper.
But now it's blatantly
big
obvious. This new art, it's blatantly obvious that dude's wearing a sombrero and Abuela is holding a baby in her backpack, and I mean it's way obvious now that this is a minority.
It very much so.
Yeah.
I very much was like, maybe it's not that bad. And then you pan over to the guy picking the berries, and they gave him like the mustache. He's either a porn star or, I mean, it's classic from a certain culture, and I'm just like.
And the artist said that it's a hunting party. He was told, and it's a great piece of art. But I think if you had the Mona Lisa of Hitler, you'd still be like, but it's Hitler. You know what I mean? So it's a great piece of art, but it's a hunting party, and there's one bow that looks like it's freely accessible. There's one bow that looks like it's a kid is in the way of the guy drawing it. I saw one quiver. And then there's the lady with the very telling hairstyle and the gigantic axe, and then a whole bunch of hawks. That village is going to starve. I'm sorry, that village is going to starve.
Yeah, for sure.
Because all the kids are going to scare away the prey.
Yes.
And if you are quick enough on the draw, it's just you, one person that's got that one shot.
You get one rabbit.
Yeah.
And then it's.
And maybe not.
Water.
Maybe they're spellcasters and they're setting traps and stuff, but nothing in that image of those orcs said to me this person is a spellcaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got the guy in the corner who's like, oh look, a little tiny fruit berry from the cactus. I wonder if we could eat that.
I'm wondering who the two middle-aged white guys are that are explaining the racism that Ruffles and Falcor is talking about. I'm talking about various opinions on why something is racist. I am not explaining racism.
100%.
So stop gatekeeping opinions on racism. Yeah, it was just a very blatantly obvious piece of art that looked like it's like the orcs never before looked like a specific race, but now they do, and that's
yeah. It just seems really, really odd.
On the upside, though, we have that art piece with the dwarves.
By the same guy.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I like when they keep consistency with the same artist.
Yeah. And, it's fine.
We're old dudes. We had problems with it. Here was the first thing I noticed. Sandals in a forge? I mean, yeah. Sandals? Well, he's the baker. He's the baker, but it's a forge, man. Come on.
It's obviously the baker next door. The baker next door has brought over the baker next door has brought over some cookies for everybody in the forge to work with or to work on or something like that. Like that's that's that. I might share screen on that one if that's cool, uh, with you. So let's see if
Share
I push that spiffy button if that helps us there, right?
Yep.
So and there are a lot of things I like. If I kind of ignore the baker, there's a lot of things I like about this piece. We've got what seems to be a female working the forge here, a female dwarf working the forge. I love that. Like, look at that strength, and she's got her foot braced against the heaviness of the metal or whatever's in there, and the glow I can feel the heat off of that, right? I like that. I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with this guy, pounding the liquid metal or whatever this is here in the middle. That's good too. And they're doing business with these folks over here. And we have a dwarf that is looks like he's got some intelligence and some he's the bookkeeper or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then like you said, and there's nothing wrong with sandals, but OSHA's gonna kill this guy.
Right.
Like what is up? I mean, he's like the guy in Frozen working at the little supply hat shop, where he's like, "Oh, Dad, how are you doing? How are some things? And I might to make you some cookies." And that's great.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I just don't get it. Like, I'm going to try to keep the same screen here. And, if you want a dwarf that is going to be doing your cookies, I don't know if that shifted for us there. Yeah. Like you could do that, but like, he's got to be a dwarf, and I got some cookies, and they probably taste mostly like gravel and bear poo, but
and because he's a dwarf, there's just so much hair in them,
not bad. So
Yeah. Yeah, and that other picture in the forge, I took a closer look at it and started like not interpreting, but doing what you should do with D&D. Use your imagination.
Yeah.
And if you go back to it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you closed it out.
No, I'll jump right back over there.
Okay.
So here we go. As soon as it jumped behind another screen here for me, so let me get my mouse back over there. But anyway, boom, and magic button, spear and magic helmet. Boom, there we go. In 3, 2, 1.
So yeah, the guy over here with the eye patch, sitting at the table at the window.
Oh yeah.
I saw like he's the eldest one in the room, and he's like, it looks like he's holding a small instrument in his hand, and he has the head of a hammer. And I'm like, okay, this is the guy that's like etching the story, of who last held a hammer like this or something, into it, and so
the handle for you, right?
And stuff like that, and like all the only so if you took everything from like the guy with the tongs. If you took everything from like half of him and went left, that's a great shot. If you take everything from the right of him and go right, that's a great shot. It's weird that they're together. That's all happening in one spot. And I know it's to say, hey, here's one piece of art with every single thing that would make people happy.
Yes.
Would make people happy. So here it is. But yeah.
And if you want your dwarf baker to be sunshine, that's okay too, right? But like it doesn't quite like you. I think you nailed it for me. Johnny. Like, it feels like this should be 2 different panels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's very true.
Yeah.
So.
And who knows? Maybe it was, and it was like, we need this on one page. So back to the drawing board he went. You can close it. You can close it now.
Awesome. Yay. Woohoo. FYI, behind the scenes, when you click on that, it always says like stop streaming.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I think that's the button I want to push, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll push it. And just shut us down for sure.
We've got 5 minutes. What do you think?
Hal says those are special brownies, not cookies, based on the smile of those guys. They're like, hey. gotta like it. I gotta like it a lot. So, well, we have great stuff going on in the network.
Yep.
So
Spiel.
Wayfinder Legends has launched, and Mysteries of Beatrix is in their second arc. So if you by chance missed the first one or felt like it got too big for you or too long, then man, jump back in and check them out. They're live on Wednesdays. I can rarely catch them live, but you can always catch them on YouTube, and of course you're here on YouTube, so check out all the rest of the page, including past episodes of Plausible Deniability. Last week, well, 2 weeks ago, Aiden Cross and Michael Cross and Johnny, you guys were here. I was in the chat, and you guys had a fantastic show about the slow release of what's in the player's handbook, and you guys are going to come back to that, yeah?
Yeah, so in 2 weeks, we're gonna if Aiden's free, we're gonna get him back in here too, and you'll be here.
I will.
You better be.
Have 4 in the chat.
And yeah, we'll discuss more of the class specific stuff. Which as far as that goes, and don't get me wrong, it's great. I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna play it. And like Brooke was saying earlier, yeah, when I run the game, my Dark Elves are evil. If I play in your game and they're not, then that's that way I'm playing the game. It's or I make a choice that I don't want to do that. Just like if someone offers you Coke or Pepsi and you choose one over the other, and then you move on. It's just an opinion, and just a preference.
I'll just have a lemonade, right? That's sometimes,
But I think with this is the words in the books are great. I think the art on the outside of the books is great. I think the art on the inside of the books that's been revealed so far is where a lot of people are like, I don't know, I'm not too sure about this. So, but yeah, I think they're doing great things with the classes so far. I've seen. I can't wait to pick Michael's brain about his opinion on some of the Warlock stuff. I know I mentioned that last episode. There's one very specific mechanic with the Warlock I really want to dive into. Yeah, so there's that. Get it, Brooke. Hal's saying something there in chat.
Oh yes, for our $10 and up patrons and you can become one. We in the Discord, we have the patron hangout this Monday, July 15th at 6:00, and we all just kind of come in remotely, and we talk about whatever's on the mind of some things. A little bird has told me that there'll be some of the Wayfinder Legends cast there. Not going to be able to grab everybody, not all 5 folks, but we're going to grab a few folks, and so that'll be there. And then all the folks from kind of the normal cast and crew that are free and available, they'll pop in and out. So Michael Cross usually does before he has to go to bed, because he gets up at 2 a.m, and those type of things. So Tuesday is your gaming nights, isn't that true, Johnny? Like your standing game of
it's been on hold.
Okay, very good. Yeah, very good. So sometimes Johnny can make it, sometimes not. And man, we would love to see you guys hang out at the patron hangout on Monday right here at Discord.
All right. I'm going to say goodbye.
I think we did the damage, it's
PD night, so Chick-fil-A's on the way. Sorry, speaking Chick-fil-A, I know it is what it is. It's okay, because that play I told you that I was in, everyone hated it, and then by the end of production a month later, we had Chick-fil-A cater. So it's it is what it is.
If the product is good and they aren't openly sending money to the Russians or whoever, then
right,
then or eat it on the side.
I work with a guy who is he's in the family, and he wants at lunchtime he's like, I want Chick-fil-A and I have a coupon, but will you go get it? Those are his conditions. It has to be discounted, and he will not go there. So yeah. All right.
I'm gonna get an old school book cover.
Yeah.
Wrap it in a paper bag, and I'm gonna cover up my 2024 PHP so people won't know.
Yeah. All right, Chad, you've been great. We're getting out of here. I am Johnny Payne.
I'm Mold Man Brooke Bullock.
And we'll